Good evening. Hopefully you're all awake. We are having a very gray morning here in Atlanta.
나머지 강가 참지되시들 쉬어야다. 다들 그게 또 시부차기 있어. 나머지 더동이네 충분히 예배 내가 예스. 근데 남시 나는데 애틀랜타 남시 단다 토스 timothy 제들이 두스.
This morning we're going to have, or this evening, we will have each of the groups present their study and hopefully get some feedback from people in other groups as well as Robin and myself.
저는 게 당부대 도든 당부대 고속도 넘버soldi 심주체시 필요서래. 어디 심주체에 대다 자네 누가 수수수네 인정 쉬어야지. 디 나사비 주고 오늘 걔라 보는 저 첨부기 공자 중요해야 돼.
So if you haven't already done so, you'll need to pick one person who will walk us through the 3 slides for your group about your question, design, and data.
전에 남부루가 수수수수 나오는 미치기 디체 통계 시에 비토네 아니 버르민도 리바도 숨식 모두 나요다 어디 실내 샤비토네 아니 담시 나로나스.
And David is here from Emory, and he will be able to give you some feedback as well.
에머리네 단달로존나 신부터 신주번나 신게 신바 데비드 골버 콘데 페샤스 아니 공기네 나버스 담시 나무텔레 konsanang this.
Okay, so let me put up the slides. Okay, so we'll go through one example and explain a little bit about why we did the experiment, suggest this experiment the way we do.
어제는 예전부터 배순직 주는 누구인 배순직 주는 것도 나한테 먼저 디 심주 자와데 가르치는 체벌에 가르치는 심주디 체벌에 안 심주디 칠루체당 근데에서 비걸 모두 비슷한 게 있어요.
Okay, so we're gonna sort of use the example that we used yesterday and ask the question whether doing walking meditation improves sleep quality.
저는 예 배순직도 쉬어야 되라 계속 넘버서디 공자나면 나로네 심주기 지워직데 아니 로에 컴포베이션도 어느 검자죠 로에 검자가 되게 아니 니 비비셀라 야게 동그르 베스엔 어디 심주기다 제세 지워디스.
And I'm going to put Robin on the spot. And Robin, the question here specifically says, does walking meditation in the evening improve sleep quality? Why might we be specific about having everybody do it in the evening?
Again, Robin, the Tibakuini, and the day Simju, which are Nanola, Mixukane, any Goma Purge, Dove Comja, Chisang, Ni people Penguins, member Jenny, Chiru, only Dove Comja, Tigi, Ni people Penguins, Mixu Kache, Surgi Tenche, Sunja, De Sungue, Zakari Bas, and Kenny Robin conditions.
Well, I would say because if you do it in the evening, it's close in time to when you fall asleep, and thus it may have a bigger impact on your sleep.
근데 샤고에 주제디 그 니냐가 나가 인자 니냐다 시라게 주도 양고 면자 아니 대제는 디기 치료 검 로에 검자버디기 진유도부디 뉴슈도부디 아니 서버젤 하디에서 니의 핑크레션 두 삼종스.
Did I pass the test?
You did okay. And David, are you there?
David Lal.
Yes, I am.
So David, what would be the problem of having some of our participants do it, maybe 3 do it in the morning and 2 do it in the evening within our meditation group?
Kisi ngazu ruka nalone ruka chiki nalone sungu meto piche nalone ni sigi shoge kompa ne komjap ni sigi sumsu hamachigi ani chitu japshabina tila chiki nyami isegi simju ki yakata dewe kangen da bakal chisi.
See, when we do a scientific experiment, we want to make sure that certain parts about the experiment are consistent. So that way we know that only the thing that we're choosing to affect the experiment with, in this case, whether somebody is doing walking meditation or not, is helping improve sleep quality. So we want to make sure that there's a consistent factor or that those factors are controlled in our experiment.
근데 전에 강의 연구를 가르치는 미국 제단다 따야지 아니 치료 아니 컴퓨터에 컴퓨터에 니 비관 생기면서 때 가시라 심주 제세에 가시기 치료 컴 맞을제 쇼게 아니 도 컴퓨터 브레체비나 아니 고 아주 컨트롤 그룹 제제 고 시진사기 지기여와 되다 아니 제도 그레스 자티 가서다 data which corres tata consistent in data groups.
So these are 2 good reasons. One is that we've sort of narrowed down our hypothesis to what we think might have the biggest impact doing it in the evening.
The simju da de yogi nera kesbuni re sig kare some simju di chiki yachimboru shu cheshabin anko page tunde di tata ho nombre de temps de maré simju ki chawadi kazu tutu bisagro kazu rungi rigi ani ko kazu nosuro tenje chawoso gres bisebina ani tutu tata dikal papa nya kebayores.
And then the other is to make sure that we sort of reduce the variation in what people are doing so that we have a carefully controlled experiment.
And then you 심주들의 내용이 유추의 남단데 유르리아기 유추의 남단데 유추의 남단데 아니 양코 하장기 남단 망고 때와 많이 봐도 그 딱딱지 구글에 스티체비는 아니 시진세기 루카디당 아니 다지 루카니부티 딱딱 그래서 우리 왜 세버스 소야지다 안펜주 둘째니 주니에 개발요레스 주주 가장 많다는 양쪽요레스.
So this is an experiment in which our independent variable is doing meditation or not doing meditation in the evening.
그디 단다 심주기 차와지세 심주기 차와되나로라 나세기 주주들라 라마의 주주다 아니 때베 주주 니에베 나로네 라마의 주주디 아니 곰 치료 아니 곰 잡다 맞아봐 전에 비 아니 라마의 주주들이스.
So for our experiment, we're going to collect data through surveys in 2 ways.
아주 심주기 제알라 아니 강도 뒤야디 주단디 카멘다 니촌네 니네 뒤야리스.
So we'll do a survey similar to the one that many of you did that we looked at yesterday, where people tell us sort of about their sleep quality over the last month.
아주 제단디 차식 차가식 한 넘버스 가서 넘버스 잠시만 나셔봐 비단 WW에 또디 미소라 제요기 집어도 봐 깨지지 전지세지 아니 당부해야 되겠어.
We will also have a survey that they can wake up in the morning, look at their phone, and answer some questions about how they slept last night.
니버디 아니 따지셔서 그 루카데술라 쇼게 나고 람바다 간주기 카바주네 아니 렌잡고야 된데기 코드님 니 프로젝트 니 프로네 아니 카바주네 아니 렌잡고야 된데 요레스 어때도 수루루 제르토네 아니 니기 두가라고 간데 중모선 또 싱그리스.
And we will repeat that for 3 days. So we'll collect data for 3 days for each person.
어 근데 제베 토네 아니 게지지세 미레레레라 아니 니마숨리가 무티제 도신티워티제 아니 당부 뒤야레스.
Okay, so with that, let's go on to our first group. We'll go in order today. So we'll start with group 1, the snow lions.
다티 ngodo 직 제베디 뒤네다 먼저 나버스 루가 방 시송제제 뇌이 루가 당보는 것 중에 있어. 강세 루가 페로나스.
Okay, so can you go ahead and tell us about your research question?
Hello.
강세 루가 지워 심주 제약이 지워 카레스.
Our research question is, does giving and taking meditation 10 minutes before sleep affect the sleep quality? This is the question.
나버스기 심주기 지워디 니 쿠베 까만추응을라 아니 곰잡다 마잡디기 니 비걸 개바 주고도 웨스신 데레스.
And why did you pick to do this particular kind of meditation?
Actually, this is giving and taking meditation. We Tibetan call that this thukdam, tonglen. So actually, it's more related to it's related to the sleep, and it affects to the betterment of sleep. So our group wants to research on this.
여기 겐라기 컨디션이 티베디 담니 컨체가스 컨데스키 개바주그레 삼조스 단다 겐기 숭야기 심주기 티베디 giving and taking 시링에 단기 give meditation take meditation 스기도 삼죠 레미도 톤랭 코미르샤 인자 톤랭 콤 카마주 응외라 개바티기 니 비걸 팽기되면도 세디 코나도 심주기 티베체 디 데데 담니 개바 주야질 컨데스키 본존스 디 지단에 돈렌체야데 니 semkamba 데데기 델료다 데델레 키바 주비요레 데데체네 니 비컬라야 주스그리스체네 데데 공체 니 티버 담베이스 두스무다.
And Robin and David, you can hop in at any time with questions.
겐 데비다 겐 로빈니 총조조 나로나스
Okay, can you tell us about your study design?
So here we will conduct a descriptive study and experiment study both. Through this, first we will send a survey to the participant, and also checking the meditation habit and sleep habit of the participant. And total, we will send a survey to total of 24 participants, and which also includes the 6 control. So that means the 6 control and 18 participant experiment, who practicing.
아니 심주기 거버 직당 하듯이 디바스네 컨디션이 심주 시단데 아니 다지셔서 소비 가리 대시 제기도 대시 잡을 대시 샤체 제야당 대강라 다지기 한단다 주제도 대주당 이나야지보다 다지기 대주나야체 아니 디 장도 뒤단다부디 서베체네 바 지쇼 파 굴체 대장주에체 아니 대강라 프랑스 랭게샤니 주제기 균의 랭게샤부디도 나로기 강도 수비야체 근데 니기 대전 나로 대제 니기 그거 가르가는 고정자 대주도 대유기 집어다 랭게는 유부다 근데 다지셔서디 견dom비 이니슈트피 나로네 두비 시진세 루파체 모두 검대 먹어체 아니 딜하마디 대주 접게로와 어때 아니 검대 주체 아니 군이 정도
So can you tell us more about your controls and what they will do or not do?
네, 남부스 단다 시진세 루가디 꼴 미키 토로나스 코드 가리치기 말이스 가리치 조그레 가리치 조그 말이 하나 가리치기 말이스.
So the sixth control will not do not practice the giving and taking meditation, and the other 18 will before 10 minutes they will meditate on the giving and taking meditation.
시진세 루가도기 아니 제동 안에 믹수 정말 동len지 곰 맞잡으신 되그레스 아니 심바도 가마 니 코야기 니냐 가마 주응을 정말 제도 미네 아니 동len지 곰 되그레스.
Can I ask a question?
여러분아 주바지 yes.
How did you come up with the number of participants in your experimental group and your control group? 18.
남부스 심주 자외 나로라 아니 시진세 루가기 장 미장당 다지세 루가기 미장이 미라도와 도수 용해디 컨디션 타집이 바 컨디션브리스.
First, we thought that this research is more than this 2 weeks. After that, this is only for just practice for 2 weeks, right? So we reduce the participants amount, and also the control. We did the more on the participant who meditate because we want to get the result through those meditate ones.
시진세 루가니 버룰 장gat 투센 미라 용에다 장gat 빛에 베기스모도 마중에도 가르레슬라나 도메 셔시 제나임부터 다들 지고 있는 동에디 겹종디 시라 신임에서 범디 듀링보다데 너네 가서 윤협이 거니 다제식 말에 든다 니기 처시 땡지 지셔버렸습니다. 되주는 거 쉬우 말이스. 아니 디 멤버 인자 아니 편dombe 루가 니부디 편dombe 미스터시 차버렸어. 이나오네 다제 루가들 미망아 샤이드 가르스나 맞아 현대에도 맞아 또 현대디 범마점 가지고도 세야 sabla kom jamni garping to sin share tenda la amni kom jage ma service.
Robin, this is more in line with your research. Would you think it would be more common to split the group equally between control and treatment?
I do. I think my suggestion is that even though the intuition is to increase the number of participants in the meditation group, I think it's actually would be good to have an equal number in the meditation group and in the control group. And one other, well, then I have one more thought, Geshe Dadul.
And the again number the Shimju, the Tonlin that they come the day Shimju shared again Robin like Jundan and Nayaki Shimju Lady Jimbata. Is a Titandani, Gola Candisuela, Poncha Hario, the Randu Tati again to be Devilla, Yamchad of Jil, Devilla, and come Jamna Karping to Chin, come Jagan to Tola Kebaka Yugi, Nyala, Nani. Tona Chungche, and come Yagama service, so at the Tajik Chevy, Tata Mateso Joris, Tajik Sigina, 10 days change to Walman Rucheni, Rukaniga, Tangachani, native Kebal Mepsi, Tata Sogu.
And the other thought I have is feasibility. So you have a short amount of time to do the project. It's maybe you want like 8 in the meditation group and 8 in the control group. It may be hard to find 18 people to do the meditation, be in the meditation group. So just you want to think about the ability, the feasibility to carry this out in such a small amount of time.
And then the Tanda Peasant of China, Taji the Tuyun Tunduji Ringal, Tuyun Tunduji Ringal, Tanto Konga Duya, the Kajin chair in the Chick, but the Tuzu Tony Kushan chair, and they came Mesa. And Satam should share with teach you Rugadi, Pahaba to the Tajik Ruga, meet Chopia Tambashai, the Cost Mountain of Georis, Hasumo sharing in Gayor, is Tangone, Tuzu Kazu, Tishila Shabaton, and I have to Duyagi, Turkey, any 장가냐니 야부여레스 근데 사실은 제제스 누가 아니고도 제제스비나 장도 돼야 되는데 전 주주 통도 받으면서 아주 돼야 다 제투비야기 개발이 두그레스.
One thing I'll say is I'm very excited about this experiment because I think ultimately in the future we could imagine doing some research together where we take this type of meditation, have people who are very experienced meditation like you do it, and also train people to do the meditation and see if it has a similar effect.
아니 괜히 원라게 디토를 conversation 해야 되라. 아니 자외 다지 그 제세기 시리 인지 쉬우도 야부 쉬우도 베지기 제만에 지 비지 그 두베이나 은 준비 편도 용해다 지 가시셀 편도 용해다 야나 니지 시야라 지기 미국 예비소도 지자 다지 디키 용세 아니 다지 디리기 두야다 주부 점도 마세 다지 디 주부 유네 그냥 나세기 양 동랭이 검을 영화 요캔 당한 영화 시다메게 피네 모두 제거서 된줄래 모두 제베 토네 모두 제베 규주 통도 좀 모두 제베 토네 개발 주고도 주고도 전에 나세게 양 검기 영화 예베다 매베다 된데라 근데 버르기 아니 가서리 집두체 이간라 모두디 규주 통도 좀 모두 제베 토네 시주보다 근데 편도 주고 봐야 근데 기봐야 서레스.
I'd just like to say, I also think a real strength of the project is that they were very specific on the type of meditation and linked it to sleep. So that's a wonderful example of kind of theoretical thinking.
그냥 지금 검기 단다 남아서 여기 검기 심주 제약이 남샤 랑단다 붙이라 삼도당단다 붙이라 방트단다 붙이라 개센지 가두스나 검지용 기토라 검지용 지 간디 중중 검 제베토네 니를 팽되면 돼 때문에 검게 나로는 믹수가네 에베 동렌센 믹수가베 아니 검지 키용니 검기 잡다지 키용니 비기 기타니 버르는데 딱이 유두간 거치 지 다지 제약이 시비고 지 믹수제 고 노브루 제제 제브레디양 기센지레스 근데 제나 그냥 주변이야가 되게 개발 죽체요리스.
And then briefly just tell us about the type of data you're collecting.
근데 다 인규 제제 넘버도 장도 컨텐츠 비비바 뒤샤의 장도도 컨텐츠.
So first we will break the participant into two groups, and one group with the giving and taking meditation, and the other one not meditate before the bed. So we are comparing the sleep quality of those who meditate and those who do not meditate for last 5 days.
저도 뒤단디 루가 하니체 kom tonglen kom javen sta megja ge ruga nisu ruga nibu digi ani thola thangdo di nimangarenga dengengi nimangarenga muti tu tibi di june ani kom jabati nigi ani pikala jaba jugu du tebinis.
And tomorrow we'll have time during the workshop for everybody to create these surveys, and we'll teach you how to do that.
아니 진짜 저기 걸라마 나도 강갈라 안다 서베 제단다 배우기 아니 모두 제야다 양도 그 소스 땅도 전에 모두 제야다 디제 인그리스.
Great job, Group 1.
어루가 당고시라 야분나샤 스테오도스.
All right, we are now going to the ocean for group 2. Can you tell us about your research?
Hello, good morning, Madam and Sir.
Morning.
First of all, I, on behalf of Group 2, would like to say Tashi Telek to you, both of you, and thank you so much for your precious time.
Thank you. It's wonderful to be with you.
So we will begin the research question. Our group has chosen the questions about does watching short video of His Holiness teaching impact sleep? This is our question, right?
공사 초기 아니 송주 남배 년진된데 년통된데 님하고 공라 년보다 많이 버티기 아니 이기 그걸 개발하는 경우도 있어.
And our hypothesis is positive impact on sleep. So this is our hypothesis.
그나도 소셜 제야데 텐데람 딕션에 년도인데 제베이나 니마고 폰데 제베이나 니 그걸 펜도 인구레스네 디 소셜 제베이스.
And will you let the participants pick any video?
아니 디치디 아니 다시 제대 다시 제세 루가 되줄라 건설적이 아니 송적인 인통 근데 중요한 일이 양 정말 믹스 쪽제 디니에 전라빈 바칸이 바스
His honest video, we have discussed this about a lot, and finally we have decided that we will choose one short his honest video. Is about, I think, 3 minutes.
이 갱고나드 건설적이 송팅
Sorry, 30 seconds of his honest teaching.
송팅이 년동 가르쳐 주는데 그 샤메스 디콜 하나도 두두시라 중 다음에 뒤에 년동 송팅이 년동 니가지 가서 숨주담마도 매대긴 근데 니가지 두제 대랑 다야 두션 샤베스.
And now study design. Our study design. The first step is video is shared to 10 random participants. This is our first step. And second step, after watching video, try to understand the meaning of teaching. And the third step is next morning, answer the questionnaires.
제니 오늘도 단다 다지 그거 뒤단데 가르쳐 주이스나 녜라 년동디 아니 년동디 당분에 믹두샤베 그냥 다지세서 인다스 믹두샤 매버체 녜메 돈에 미줄라 아니 심주난 주네 아니 년동디 파 점베이스 그다음에 아니 년동디 제베 돈에 디 고등 가르쳐 돈다 가르쳐 전 그나줄 다야 나바이스 아니 전에 산이데 아니 그런데 something the kebab to do is.
I have a few questions and comments. First is, you may want to consider a slightly longer video, just maybe like 3 minutes instead of 30 seconds, because it may have a little bit more of an impact on the person to have some more time with His Holiness before going to sleep.
근데 년동디 가지 숨주 드레스 송아시다 통다 그래서 통다니 되게 아니 저기 되게 전제되고 되게 준비되고 슈견도 간에 태부도 다야 또 가고 그래서 그럼 슈견 때린 캔디 하장 통다단 아니 슈견이야 단 임버디 문진체 가보지 그래서 아마 숨 싶으라고 들리 충분히나 슈견 문진체 되어야 개발인 그래서 여보다 매번 니즈디 세우차 그래서.
Second, it's great that you're randomly selecting participants. That's a term we'll get to. That's perfect. But you may want to randomly assign people to the video group and then have another group that's randomly assigned to the control group that doesn't watch the video.
Then, number two, 심주난 냠주난 genso 당분에 미국제 니 켈렌체 뭐다 제 관한들이 인다스 럽제 두스 맞을제네. 그것도 예매 돈에 톱톱톱 로블로브 담제 도진나샤디 다지 시당기 찬이시나 하장기 지루 야보다 내가 치부지레스 이나양 근데 제비일라마 되봐 그뒤네 다지 루가당 아니 시즌세 루가니 로하여야디 계시모레스.
And lastly, Ken Paller, who's on the call, probably would be very interested in why you're waiting for the morning to ask the participants to answer questionnaires. Why not have them complete them right at the time of watching the video?
근데 당도 뒤를 qabla 당도 뒤에 돼 아니 건다 예타네 산이 누구도 왔어. 건다 예산 님들 당에 심었다. 산이데 쇼게가 누구도 와 쇼게 누구에 주전가래 디메 버전 년도랑 때 사버랑 마디부 가르레스.
The one possibility is you could have them watch the video, work through some questions to think about the meaning of the video, answer a survey, go to sleep, wake up, do another survey about their sleep.
Oh, okay. Nicola ki konja na ya chi la. Nyendung de jeju, nyendung jebe shugo ta nyendung jebe ta nyamdo ani ti tanda khari koso khari sungu to khari re khande mari sene samlo khari koso so ya do dit nyendung di jebe tang de yo ki sonyo da butan ani ti pat kwesa ki nani tisho ji phi ti tisho de kang ne ani simku ne sanyi de ni simgi ani pyukatan de yo ni ya jibaji ti do sene 장도 좀 많이 비비네 situation that you
Actually, Geshe Dadul, I was confused. It makes a lot of sense to ask questionnaires about sleep quality in the morning. I thought the questionnaires were on the meaning of the teaching. So maybe just tell them that I was confused. I think it makes sense to ask about sleep quality after going to sleep.
Ke endanda robin lag dangi chwati ki len jewe di ki ko nangse ki yewa cheje chi samja duya di pongcha do da kon ju chi jang du duya di gengsho kang ya di sanyi di shebi di gengsho ke ya di nyenchin je ba de dan de yo ki tonda khare de sha ko ten khare de sha misu su du sungjo khare du sha ki de dan de yo ki ani pongcha du bi ni samjong samja du bi samjong de de do ni ki pyuga de je na ni ku sa ne du ku sigro asti de ina ta shoge duya de ko dig dos.
Also, I think it's pretty important that when you're doing this experiment, you really choose your control very carefully, because when you actually perform the experiment, if your control group watches no video at all, you may just be finding the effect on watching any video. So perhaps you may also want to consider having a control group watch a similar 3-minute video, but that's not watching His Holiness teach. So instead, maybe watching, I don't know, a puppy play, something like that.
Oh, ani tanda nabasu tanda taji de chebe kala ji jinse ki ruga jorwa control group there hajangi control ya wacha gres control the control group so well so the any khande chego islamna yana that kisebe ko mo da di nyendung pije tagres ko je nyendung tagres che sungan che so nyendung tagres nyendung ta ya nyendung de 가서 그래 송주기 년도 따와네 많이 베티 많이 베년도 따야 대양지 믹스까지 믹스웨이나 다데게 고모죠 may I ask David for clarification, did you say that the control group could be led to view specific video other than teachings by His Holiness, or no video at all, something like that?
Yeah. So if you don't have the control group watch any video at all, you may just be finding the effect of watching any video in the experimental group. So to control for the content that you're watching in the experimental group, you should have the control group also watch a video, but that's definitely different from the experimental. Yeah.
Thank you. I got it. Jenny, then again, David, like 소소기 룩 가서 시즌 세 루가저로 당진 시세 루가저로 어때 하장기 차 담보진에 당진 적으레스 아니 넘버스 따지 세급값이나 아니 권소적이 송적이 년친 기토네 편도 두고도 따기 위해서 시즌 세되기 아니 가서 년도 자원에 마대비나 아니 지단에 년도 때나 아니 편도 두고도 개발 중대지 얘기를 서로 차로 그랬어. 제도 년에 권수적이 송주의 년통에 년 일비가 두고도에 중대 임버질라 예박하여 말이지. 년통 때나 일 편도 두고도 이게 개발 차로 가서는 당지 시세로가 년도 줄마다 버려왔어. 이래 당지 시세로가 년권 따주고 가실라 아니 다야디 권수적이 송주의 년진 때에만 임버지 인거 주나 아니 두려야지 요래 년통 때가 찍발라 아니 년통 따다는 민다부터 토네 아니 두루를 체크해봐요.
So can you tell us a little bit about the data you're collecting?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now data, the first or that is, how much did you understand the meaning of the teaching? This is first question. And the second,
number 4 장도 뒤에 나로네 지금 당부대 장도 뒤에 나로라 근데 년동기 전다 가서 고종 센 지버체
and the second is, did you had a dream? Did you have a dream?
니버디 니 밀람 당중에스
And the third is, were you awakened during sleep time?
니 고신도 니 심베 니 고심에스 니 고신도 니 그거가 사실라 나로냐 즉 lucid dream 솔직 심베 니 고심에 심베 밀람 근데 고심에 생기로 년은 당중에 생기다
예, dire yala lai jang zo semu ni ku ra. Ni ku ga yang se ni che ngo da. Wo di lai mi ke jire.
디스플레이 되게 니 고야지면 됩니다 okay that's the original laguda. So they weren't speaking of lucid dreaming. Rather, they were saying, did they have abrupt disruption
Were you
in this?
often
Did they wake up
awakened?
often?
So, and this is where you could either do one survey in the evening before sleeping about the teaching and then another about sleep, or you could do it all in the morning.
Is a number two that the Shimju Chagi, Natandilla Tab in the Tangi Gang, Fu and Chiche, any charging to Yadi, Judge Gamsho Kaya, the Niru Sony, Chick the Yentunda, Yenjin, Jayu, Chivati, Kaptu, Yenjin Javishu, the Kaya Chat, Nimu Konde. Never they take it on a Nigi Pukati, Sani Ni Kusavishu, do ya, listening, and it total to down with the mother of Nishan Duna Dususayo. Du chose you in this, Yana, Kaganyamdo, Cherry Shoki, tradition, the answer to
Are there any final comments from other groups or from the people on Zoom?
Oh, Ruga Shimbasuta, Shimbatu Sunjun and Titola, Conjasmia Ubes.
The one thing I will say is that when Robin and I planned this was never an experiment that we would have thought about.
Titol Gelagi, Chisumia Chila, and again Robin Bafanagi, and Kanda Shimjuki Chawa, Karikari Chega, Lapi, Concha Tendi, some of Nandugala, and the numbers of Chagi Shimjuki Chetanjua, there's some of Rana Pomajones.
And that is why ETSI is doing research with you, is that we want your ideas to be part of the scientific dialogue.
Today is Emorita Big Terry Lerim Chane, Shimjuki, and Loki Cheata, the Tegla Shapati, Gezen the Tones, and Shimbazu is some of the day numbers of Tula Ponche, and Shimjuki, Shisawata, Titol to Ben Sawat and Yet and Sawa and Yet and Yuris.
Ken, do you have a question?
Yes, I do, if that's okay. My question is for that experiment, do the people know that they're going to be asked about their dreams? And the reason I ask that is because, as I'm going to lecture about on Friday, there are many ways to influence dreams. And as you all probably know, one of the ways is to go to sleep with an intention for the dream to go a particular way. And so if people already know that, they may or may not have that intention. It would be nice to determine if they have the intention to have their dream be about their pre-sleep experience. That's the question.
Then number two, the Tango Duana, the same show the Tango Duana, and Minam Tango Damos to do it. And it to this year, but the Tatis is also when Shingi or Shingi Amaris. Big condition is the condition which is the Gana Hona and Nita, and Milam Toller, and Shinjunangans. It is a Milam the Yongela, and a Milam Taya, Dubake on Dubake, do Cherina, Milam Tayala, to get the Terry the young chokers in there. And Tivanala, Milam Tangma, and get the cigarettes and the Tambona, Shingi, and the Milam Taya Tola, Semgi. Capture of Jimajune, be told by Guru, so Chagre, and they don't young Nilam Dialam, course to gain some budget on Nilam Town and so cigarettes. It's a Tibet did it. Milam to call a Tibet. You have a dingo single always.
This the ngazu survey di matam shagrala survey na thiwa thakaran ligro ine ngazu mixer di thanda nilam khartang madanda nilam piche da di taya marel so kharsana nilam tang suna ni di traba yo ke jara quality di desu shemba yo wo di senjin che chido thiwa de ko jore.
Yeah, this question is included in the survey, so somehow they will know it beforehand. But at the same time, the reason why they included in the questionnaire is not to particularly see what quality of dream they were having, but rather to deduct from that they were having light sleep, because dreams happen only during light sleep phase. So they were rather going to deduce. The aim was to deduce the quality of sleep itself.
Okay, group 3, the laughing Buddha.
The cool guys.
Ruga sumba. Hasang girwe. Hasang ruga rewe. Laughing Buddha prevent Allah kemi shogeng sanje se lagu marwa. Hasang ro. Oh yeah, number 3 da.
당보들 아니 창문로라 치료 딜레시지다 아니 나저기다 냠시기 뒤와들라 가르다면나 니미니기 견데카기 롬니와치 심용라 쇼겐식 때담네 대응저기다 디도디 뒤와도디 담요래
저 가르에 송다.
다 지난
나부터 년중에 통통 추주는 통분도 게디 디디 나부터 송거거든.
다 지난 견데카라 니고 니녀져라
Oh yeah, ale.
Oh, digida, Lomnia was to Simgam Lani, Shukin Trigi Tamle the Twins.
Oh, let's. So this group's study question was the monks taking nap in the afternoon. Is that going to affect the quality of the emotion, the emotional health of the monks?
Okay. So how are you going to do this study?
Oh, can this 6 years? That's it.
아니와들라 심주기 차게들랑지 아니 칼로리 지 제제당 아니 다나신기 딱제니가 돈에 아니 디치긴 심주.
Yeah, they were going to pursue this both through descriptive data as well as through experimental data.
다 대제 지단데 간들라나 당어족이 디네 티바 세제 아니 어족이 배 타상래 여기 넘니와 미 딘주점라 티바데 파tam네 아니 디치 티십치긴.
Yeah, in terms of the descriptive data they were going to collect, they were doing so by having questionnaire distributed to some 70 participants.
아니 다제 지름들라 아니 당아도 대산으로 저 미투저라 어디 아니 니마숨 니군니냐 니마숨 니군니 마냐비 통네 아니 디토라 주와칸다 두도 디 아니 다제 세인스.
In terms of the study steps, I think that's how I understood. They were going to do it on their own group members. Theirs is a group of 6, and they were dividing it into 2 groups of 3 each, and one will be serving as the control group as such, and then the other experimental, because one group would be made to take a nap and other not.
And what is your hypothesis for this experiment?
Number 2,
세자데 다 저버데 칼라나 어저기 니군 근데가라 니쿠에티기 아니 칼로리 셈감라 아니 내전 도그레레지다 딩아지 세샤인스.
Oh, Their hypothesis is that taking nap in the afternoon is not good for their emotional health. It rather affects adversely.
That's very interesting because I would just sort of hypothesize the opposite.
The cancer dose, 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 the dose, Karesna, Taji di Chevine, Gala Imbaina, Society, the Dojo Tata Lanceres, Nitum Puadigi, and some kind of Pengris and social Lanceres.
I wonder if 3 days of not sleeping during the day is going to turn you from laughing Buddhas to angry monastics.
Then number the Taji, the Nimasum Ringa chair, Nibata, then Nimasum chair on the Nimasum chair, Cherry Sugar, and give laughing Buddhas and Sugar, the angry Buddha child, and this is the
Can I just make a few two points to Geshe Dadul? The first is on the descriptive study. For feasibility, they may want to not try to get 70 people. That may be a lot of people to get.
And the Taji Nandangi Tola, Concha Shifumbaina, Jig the Tagi meet Tunjul Tambi, Tunjul Tambi, when the Lalin on Ketria Kawachiris, Absuma, thought news one is in Maria Kawachiris,
If they can, that's great, but don't worry about it if they can't get that many. One point I'd like to make is on causality. It could be that taking naps in the afternoon makes you feel distressed or angry, or it could be angry or distressed people are more likely to take naps. So this is kind of an interesting causality question. And my final point is, in the experimental group or the experimental study, it would be good to find people who don't take naps already and ask them to take a nap. Otherwise, you're going to have kind of variability of people who are changing their normal routine. Some people might take naps and then are not, or some people, you know, don't take naps and are. So try to, if they can control for that, that would be great.
Experimental group experimental group 아니 주고 두변이야 될래 양상마로니야 레와요레스 티마나 따지 제세기 미트즈 나로네 니고 주니니 먹고게 리다 니 고게 리다 얘네 당번에 거기 유슈르부지 낭세게 양지 민다 개발 방구 치우 차되게 유슈 차도들 아니 듬데디야 세버로 된도 말이스.
Now that might be very hard because the data that we have suggests that almost all of you do take a nap during the day.
Today, that the Robin like Contana, Nashinki, Nikolaya Habachir, Nadu Koyajana, a Pidget Yongo, the Niku Simbu yesterday.
So that's a good point. If all of you do take naps, then your experimental manipulation would be to not take a nap. And so that way you're having a group that is used to taking naps, but then the change is that you don't take a nap, just a possibility to consider.
And that's one good thing about your experimental design is you're going to collect data from the same person, both with and without a nap.
Good point.
And can you tell us briefly about the data you are going to collect?
장도 대단 줘라 디조 대다 먼저 펠라다 체릭 롬니 와도 망부 쉬어줘라 두절라파 아니다 슈톤에 봐 티바데 탐 안들라 니 쿠네람 하고네 코란 나노라 나세 티바스네 티네는 어디 자자괴네 아니 디 니쿠나 아니 셈라 가리 냠난단도 가리 요메다 니마구나 아니 가리 대와도 요메고라 아니 티바다인스.
The way they are going to collect the data is since there are many students here studying science, maybe talking about those who are already present there on site, they were going to distribute the survey and then have them fill out the survey questions, irrespective of whether they have been identified as the nap taker and not, irrespective of whether they have been identified as yay or nay. So because they will be mentioning that in their questionnaire, and based on that, then they will be sorting them out and then figuring out the percentage of difference.
And then for your experiment?
다제 된다 디 주부디 당조 다제 님들라 다 나랑조 초반 나노라 주부디 니마숨 니녀 니마숨 니마니니라 다제 체르다 니마숨 니녀니 당조 냥조 가려용도 니마숨 니마니는 냥조 가려용다 디 나랑 초고라 세단 디기다 다제 체이스.
So how they carry out the experiment was since they have already identified who were going to take nap and those who are not, and then see how they feel emotionally, and they would tell them with their status.
And will you do this survey right when you wake up for a nap, at the end of the day, in the morning?
Ani di tanda gengsho yang di kandes ngawi bas ningu ni sebata cherve yang the konda cherve yang sani di paru de chen ni ku ne ani chen yue che sen shoge lang du yang ya de kande des.
주부디 닝군이 구사비셀라 데 konda ningu 잡디바니다 주부디 타인스.
Yeah, ideally or mainly for them to fill out the survey sometime in the evening after they have woken up from the nap.
Right, and that sort of highlights that, sort of as David talked about before, a lot of times you want to control things, and one thing that you want to control is when you tell people to take a survey or when you collect data.
Lagi ken David lagi sungai di nalola ani tache sesa delaine tangzi ya pcha ore sungai za tangzi sidangi rikchik di number 2 tache cha bi na tangzi sidangi rikchik di ani tangdo tusa ki tanda tache le shupen ki ruga jerwa teso ki gengcho kyang di ani ningu gi ni ku ne ya ni seban pa jagro je se lamna an kange chisun je ni kyang de se bi na ani ko 당신도 야구 투자 개발요.
All right, let's go on to group 4.
하루가 시바인다. 야루가.
Our research question is, does being active on social media prior to sleep affect the sleep quality?
number 2 여기 심주 제약이 집어디 아니 지소 타자 근데 때네 니마고 건라 지소 타자 근데 때네 아니 니 때바다마 때바디기 니기 때바디기 니 그걸 키바 주고도 뱉는데 때빈
And our hypothesis is that being active on social media actually affects the sleep quality.
then number 2 여기 social life 니마고 건데 아니 지도 다졌는데 대비 때네 필바 중부전에 대비나 그때 되게 니기 그걸 휴긴 뜻들이랬음. Yes.
Then
And do you think it's good for sleep or bad for sleep?
yeah, we are thinking it will actually negatively impacts on the sleep quality. Yeah.
그러나 social life 아니 니마고 건데 지도 다졌 나 중부전에 쇼부이나 니를 견제 그랬어. 니라 아니 견사 연구했음. 휴긴 때던데 견구전에 휴긴 때 그랬음. social language.
Okay, can you tell us about your study design?
Yes, we are actually not attempting or try to engaging any kind of experimental study, but we are trying to run some sort of quantitative research and the qualitative research. So for the quantitative research, we are going to come up with some questions that really determines whether the being active on social media is the causes of the sleep, causes of the disturbances for the sleep quality.
다다 연락이 간디 쉬어야지 아니 심주 그거 한테 찍어 봤으니 근데 그거 뒤에 나로라 넘버 2기 다체 루가 세네 믹스까지 다체 루가 믹스제 되듯이 메스 근데 당도 뒤에 뒤에 다야디 장보고 차네 개발 가르치고도 다야지다 뷰거 차네 와 뷰거 차네 개발 가르치고도 차네 쇼니가 돈 다야인스.
And based on the information that we get from the questions that we ask, we try to put them into some sort of numerical and statistical data and to see any kind of, conclusive information from that gathered information. And then after that, we also want to interview the subjects to see if there have been any other factors, if there have any other factors being involved for disturbing their sleep quality. Because, we want to assess whether the being active on social media, being social media, being the certain factor for their sleep disturbances.
And and to dom jabadi angzik na to dom jabius statistic ta ani yang ti main ge angdang da de sin ta jang do da angdang na pa che and de ko ne ani tumbe di angdang ko la sa de chi yes chuo ku je na lo la yang chi yang ta ta ya di ji zo ta ja la tu bu jin pa shu de che ba di gi ni ma ku gong de di che ba di gi ni la ani chi nge be nge shu nge be xian shu termindu taya de rewa ti taya pi nobudu de ya sebu jongya tunda la yang gen shima de kari jungdu jungmundu tingyo la gen shima de ya shugdu shugmundu gen shima de chedu chemundu tezo yang chiwa chije ni tagi yus.
So who do you think your participants will be? Will it be other people at the workshop? Will it be other monastics? Will it be friends and family who are not monastics?
And that's it. Saturday. To this is Suris. Sashi Langan, Suri, can do but Gamba way, young, the Mangi, any Jazzy Demar way, Yavuchur way, candidates.
For this case, we are thinking to request some of our participants, some of the participants of this research workshop, try to get at least 20 subjects.
Number two, the day Taji said, Nanola. Nyamju Juging Minato, and the day Kasuri Herigi Shimju Subjon taken to Nalon Damia Chevis, Tarana and Tuya Chevi, Nishus, Miku Chen, the name, another to Chevis.
And I think that that's a good choice. And what's important is when you have a small study, it would be very hard to understand the data if 4 were students who some of you met at Emory when you were at Emory, and 4 were family in Nepal, and 5 of your participants were young kids. You need to sort of try to control as much variation across your participants sometimes.
Oh, those night the Yabudos, the YouTube, Chashi Langi, now Trilla, YouTube, Kepa shoes, my you would share getting your risk. Kissy, number the Tadana, Dilla, Shambachene, but to what you said, Kashi, Payuli, you dig the Kashi, Niam, the Thunder Day, Emerald, you dig in the petition, such a Babuchani in a Korea, that is a Kangachani in a dead Midamida, China to Rujan, do you in a young go to Yagitilla, Shambe, YouTube, Netam, Namda, Hazan Shadu race, the Mabachine, Pagara, Rujan, you taken from Chivachadi, and you should tongue in Chiaki, Keba, you race, Yabudos.
You'll also need to think very carefully about what questions you want to ask about social media. You can imagine questions about amount of time you spend on social media, or what sort of social media you use, whether you like to watch dance videos or you use social media to talk with friends, all that could make a difference.
Desmond Mase, you Taja, Rachizo Taja Peju Chen, Dinal, but the Tungujan Shuag, Tang Dejan, Chuchi, or the Piet, Tatum, Kazan Mituja, but no sort of Turje, Nansegi Yavache. Yavachi to sell the Honda. Tiwadi Nalo, Jizu Raja and the Joy in the Tiwadi, and this we made that Tiwak and the Kugi Meti, Yamiseki, some questions. The Nalo Chiki, Yana, Tizu Kazuki gave us again the woo, and the Democratic Katagi said the woo, Yana Shet Habado, the Suku took the use of the Litagi said, Yana Tokopenjun, the Geshe on the Peju said, the Peju down to Zuta, get down to the Musin Shabina, and now saying Yavashi on the holidays.
One thing I will say about this design is I like that it mimics what we learned from Jenny Mascaro yesterday about you can do a survey and then follow it up with interviews to get more interesting, deeper data.
And the numbers of Nayagi, Shinjuki, the Casa, Kela, Jenny Mascaro, Luptina Kapi, Linglo Nasha, Tumdeta, Davudu, Secondary Chane, that did number the King River, the day Chane, Dachu do the Digi to face to lend of schools.
On the data section, actually, we did some edition, but it is not on there. I don't know what happened. Actually, here we have written something like collecting data of a week-long sleep quality of the subjects by conducting survey, but it is not showing over there.
In the town to Dudang and all the town to Pia, the Nima Turinga, town to Pia to see, and they again, number to Kongan J. Deagi, Ton Deagi, Yented Nalola. Because the 20 Nalola segment.
And the questions that we have prepared, one example is have being active on social media prior to your bedtime been causing your heart to falling asleep during the last week? If so, how many times? If so, how many times? How many minutes did it take to fall back in sleep in each incident? That is the one question. And then another one is, have being active on social media been causing you to have irregular sleep pattern? If so, how many times? And how many each case delayed your regular bedtime or something like this?
답변은 정도 뒤하기 직업 지쇼 나로라 아니 직업이 배전도 쉬비나 아니 니모고 건데 지도 다제도 때버디기 니 정말 니라 니 구야 그런 코카 지도 했어 제가 아니 코카 제가 되는데 지 나로라 정말 가서 중소 아니 뒤링을 가서 중소 나서要제 근데 지도 다제 또 때버디기 아니 니디 that Namgyal is charging the membership. Because Niki Donald of the Deshapo membership, and then there must have charge. Then you should change for us.
Just very briefly, I just want to say that I think the group 4 design is very creative. The quantitative followed by the qualitative and doing a descriptive study like that. I think it's very, very interesting.
And the Ruga Shibaki Shimjunaya di Nalola. 탑시 배주제야 디 qualitative 당 quantitative 체니 로아 보체 다야당 아니 양 비가 다야당 니가 그톤 따당다 네네 디제야 디 구직사도로 지다 아니 양 지기 제단 사와로 지다 바 주게하기 배주시기 넘버 2도 야고도
We'll move on to group 5. Can you tell us about your research question?
Yeah, number 2
Good question. Afi.
Good morning to you all, and good evening to all the participants. And our hypothesis is that drinking the coffee before bed is impact the sleep. So our question is that does the drinking coffee 1 hour before bed impact the sleep quality like that?
루강아와 저기 심주나야게 저거디 니마고 공대라 식자 커피 도바이나 아니 니 비가리 슈겐 가데 데도 센타레스 코나 저기 랑샤베 남샤 가서레 최샤디 슈겐에 버티게 센디 코나 저 최샤디
And the designs, we will just conduct both experimental studies and descriptive study.
아니 그거 심주 제야 그거 되다는데 근데 아니 대주게 남네 당도 돼야다 아니 따제게 남네 당도 돼야 니가 제비 지기 유스
And the experimental studies we will just survey within our groups, and the descriptive studies we will survey in the 70 people who are related to us.
And the Jeju Lamne Tango Dilla meet Yapu me 15 years. When I do the Daway again, me 15 years. They my impact and the Tajik Lamne Tango Nalola, Sarveti, and the Kona to Ruga Nanquil Nai.
So could I ask a follow-up question? So for the experimental study, you're surveying within your group. Can you say more? Is it just a survey, or are you assigning people to drink coffee or not to drink coffee before going to sleep?
Number 2 survey and the Tajiki Lamne Tango Dilla, any Taji Chesedi, Tango Duseti, number 2 Ruga Rangi, Somi doing so. Ruga Rangi, Somi Duzula, Jitan Yonda, Jitan Rujan Tango Duyar, you can go to Situare. Kopi Changa, don't do jet, don't do what the Maju, but the day.
Yeah, we just experiment in our group. There have the 7 members, and we all members are just taking the 3 days coffees before the bed, and after 3 days not taking the coffee before bed, and after 6 days what the result is comes within us. So we will see like that.
Ruga del meet years. Meet Pinjala, Niman Sumuringa copy to me a Kogores. Ni tunjala ni masumringa ko bitunga mebel cheris. Tede je beton ani ni masu di nolola ani ni kepakat tu betang tu tuje chotum cheris.
So that's a very creative design, because what you're doing is you're using yourselves as your own baseline.
이 지금 남단디 지금 리포트 사오지 됐어. 리포트 사오지 단지 됐어. 그래서 넘버 2 베이스라인디 시진세기 시진세디 도매기 지금 망댕기 시진세저로디 넘버 2랑네 고두제 당보 카드도 때 아니 비슈고 아니 거기 동보다 모두도 두샤디 시디 시를 잡을 거네. 아니 망댕디 넘버 2랑기 쳐네 랑제 근데 요와 활동도 따야 들어왔지.
Now, you may not have the ability to do it in this small practice kind of research project that we're doing, but if you were doing a larger study, you would want to make sure that everyone in the study had the same kind of coffee use, right? Because if somebody's a coffee drinker before bed and then all of a sudden they stop, that could actually disrupt their sleep. Obviously, if somebody's not a coffee drinker and they start, that could disrupt their sleep. So you don't have to worry about that now, but just think about in a larger study that you'd want to have people entering the study with a constant use of coffee use or non-use.
동약 따지 또 동약이 커피 권한래 양 예전에 릭디 많이 봤을 때 예전에 제나 개발요레스 근데 디노로래야 나세긴 균된 커피 동행 릭다 마루 릭다 되게 예전에 또네 시제 친구들로 제일까블라 계속이 지금 심사도 아니 여와야고 체제 아니 담가셔야 되겠지 모르겠어.
I also think that this is a very interesting study and the experimental is very interesting, but I would be wondering if maybe you guys are expecting an effect and then a placebo effect will result as well. So perhaps you may also want to think about basically blindly giving some people decaf coffee and some people the actual coffee to see the effects of the coffee itself and seeing if that actually if there's a placebo effect going on.
근데 다시 제가 디나로라 그 플라시보 에펙트를 제가 원래 말이네 제손 삼산도 삼록게 주고 되게 아니야 왜 되게 유월라 개발 주고레스 근데 매너지네 매원에 제부터 마티지 두마지 제제 오면 다가라 라조 삼산도 지 삼록 당에 돈에 개발 주고 열과 플라시보 에펙트 좋아 어떻게 연습을 되네 이상 커피 제베 갑라 커피 제좀 단위 구마레 삼산도 되게 당번에 지금 예전에 전에 원수네 라와로 해야 되고 근데 이게 개발 비토네 아니야 니 비걸라 개발 주스 그랬더니 이제 커피 원에 제다 커피 주마 제다 커피 민다네 커피 원에 제다 어느 주마 제다지 예매로 채나 아니야 다지 제 개발 용서 그랬어.
So you could get somebody from another group each evening to serve you either decaf coffee or regular coffee. They would record what each of you was given, but you wouldn't know.
근데 다시 제대로 남아서로 가라 남자로와 이상 커피 담겐데 해봐 누가 신배 밀 커피 담 주네 대양 그들라 아니 커피 원에도 좀 예매지는 담으로 제이나양 토냐지 제가 제신 랍제 아니 소소를 개발 가지고도 이제 소소기 커피가 또 마동다 디소저 당 하모고부터네 심바지랑 아지 제비나 이양 소소토나 준비 되단디 심주시단디 지나지 요리스.
Now, I don't actually know at Drepong if you have decaffeinated coffee because every time I've been there to teach, I'm drinking the real coffee.
Me too.
근데 남아서 밖에 커피 리들라 커피 디케비미 디카소레스 니 캐페인 예보다 매배 커피 답가세야 예도베로 피시 생기면서 게라도 밖에 그뒤 페베가 커피 뚱디 캐페인 여기 커피 시다레샤스 캐페인 메킹 커피 때는 니 유메 생기면서
But if you can find sort of the coffee to do this and somebody to help you, I think it's a very good design.
Kisi page namas user la caffeine you can making coffee nika dambo che yobi na tene digi caffeine de lenche ani simju shebe kable ne ngeme tone du cheni coffee ri minda du tonche che ne keba yoris.
So it looks like you're going to do a survey on sleep and coffee consumption for 6 days. Are you going to do a survey every day for your experimental group, or one survey at the end?
So study number 2 simju share ni ma touring ga share shas ni ma touring ga share ni ma touring ga share de ni tangdu du dan de kades du gi bas ni ma tawa chen re tu yarbe ni ma tu tha ni tu yarbe candidates.
We are just first 3 days we taking the coffee before bed, and at the times what kind of the impact we get while we sleep, and what kind of the dream we see at the sleeping times, and after wake up how you feel in your physical point like that.
The tangdu du yadi tangdu du yadi doksen seven suma sunde ka ni ebe sorji sungen che suma bobi tonne ni keba kari pyo so melon kan de tan so fu ya chi ta ni yang san ni de ni lu bi chi ki sam kam dan lu chonan do kan ki do chi de ni ga du ya chen ni ma sum chen ni tong ba da ma dong be ni ma sum chen che ya za de che is.
Yeah, and after 3 days, and we just we will not take the coffees and sleep. And what kind of the result will come at the times? And does it feel the better to sleep? And does it good dreams? And whenever we wake up, and we will feel the happy or not like that? Yeah.
Then taji share de and then you must sumringa copy tone chia chan, you must sumringa copy matun chia is up, and copy matun kaline, Pakitan Chibaris, any copy matun Nimasum Kijela, Nimasum de Nimare Gisani de Sogete, any that matum with the Kenchani, any content to conduct diaries.
Just one point on that is I think Nicole's question is important, which is to make sure to administer the same measures all of the days, both for the coffee days and the non-coffee days, so you can compare the data across those 3 days, across the different days where you're doing coffee versus non-doing coffee.
Or the target chair, the Nicola Gisamjata and Chicheni, to what year of the Suga, that the measures from said, yeah, this one I do. She carry toilet said Jaggy and Jaggy, she did. You should have the copy to make a bit to what you are down to the mother to what you are Chiposhana. We are this one.
And the reason that is important is that human memory can be terrible. And so if we ask every day, we might get a more accurate assessment of sleep.
In it, to do a couple in a Nimasum is a Nimasum Kangatane and Tamachic, Putemchic, and the mind, Nimari Rimpataja do education for this. Carson, Miki, Chambat Temposhida Yomaris, and Yopo Jella with the user, the Daytonia, change of series.
Ken, do you want to ask your question? It's a great question.
Okay, if I understood correctly, the no coffee days are days 4, 5, and 6. So they aren't really just no coffee days, but they're days after days of coffee. So that's not the same as a comparison of people that didn't have coffee in the prior 3 days. Is that okay with you guys? We call this a carryover effect.
Oh, Jenny, number 2, that the Shimju Tutan of Cherry, Nima True Chet, Nima Tambusum del Cobito, Nimas, Jamasum del Cobimatun Cheraduas, Digi, Nimasum, Jamasum Digi, to be turned about the Cobimatun to the Maris, Cobitun Sani, Nimak, Cobitun Sani, any to the Cartoons and Tires or Char, Cobitun, Dinima de Mato, Tengane nima somjanga titi tu che che insa andi ki kopi matune kari yungu do sinju chik tumde sil tudenji cha maris tel kona jo thanye di career ko effect chen sugi ore sungudo
It's like that. We just search in the Googles and the times of the coffee impact to our body. So it will starting from the 10 or 20 minute. The caffeine is the impact to our body. So that after one day it will be not different for the sleep. I think our group is thinks.
Oh, gena ba je to la samlo mata wa re do samta wa is kares na Google na lo la ken Google la kan di shide ken Google ke ani caffeine de ki shugyen de kam chu chonga la mo de ma re si ti shugyen la ru re sin la dos ti shide ni ma ta ni ma so la tong be kap ki ta je cha ta ni ma so la ma tong kap ta je cha ni bu de ani coffee ki shugyen te ki yo ba me be ani ke pa che tu res ta de ko gu yes.
Just one point on that. One way you could control for that is you could have half the people do coffee for the first 3 days and then non-coffee for the last 3 days. And then the other group could start with no coffee the first 3 days and then coffee the last 3 days. And then within your study, you will have controlled for that effect that Ken's alluding to.
And then the gen like that me too chesati netan dik tan de yojene samja jubi na number 2 me too is me too de ki tum ta je sedan de me too de ya sumla chonyin ko siam ne nima tambo sum de la ruka chik de mi sum yu gen ruka chik de la ko bitunga che sibade ma tunga che an tang du de ne nima shibone ma nima sum ringa ne yang jolo che ne nima tungen di ma tungen cha ne shu nima ma tungen di tungen sue je ne tun tang du ne tu chen de bi na number 2 nalo la bi ki tangding ra ma jena ya ko cha ta che tu ya ki ba yoris.
And can I point out that you're correct to say that the effect of caffeine is gone because the caffeine is not in your body, but the effect of poor sleep would last longer. So if you don't get good sleep on a few days, there's what's called a rebound, where your sleep is quite different when you finally do get better sleep.
And
so that's the carryover effect. It's not the caffeine per se, it's the effect of caffeine on sleep that might affect day 4, 5, and 6.
Okay, you were saying carry over.
Yes.
Okay. Dan kela di tangi caffeine dan de di number 2 samja na di seshi chepina. Tende rang caffeine rang ki ngwe su caffeine ki shuken di ko dan da sunga na si jan kam chu chong na lo pa kam chu chong jel pa ye do de res ne ya ke coffee tung che ni mo ko yin san ni mo ko be chen chen ni ani coffee ma to ka li ne nga ki ni mo tu le ni mo ko ba ta ni le chen ja ba ta di chen chen ni di shuken ji ke wal ma ha de res tila carry over si di nge me hak tu pa over si lo chi nge nga ju na chi la ma Name how to logic could carry over effects rebound effects ni can have a big change and sugar young big that can again second or south English.
But one thing I want to point out is that you did something that scientists do, is that science builds on previous research. And so you looked at what we knew, to formulate your hypothesis, but also to think about your experimental design.
And number 2, Nanda de la Seribu Jiongi Nanda Giore, Dina Lepchas, Carriers Nam, Seribe Taji Rogina Taji Kanga, Tamone and go to the Kanga Susurangi, the truth in the Chico Maris, Tengan, Taji Cheshaba, Dig, Netin, Di, Chilashane, Digan, and Taji Savadu to be a resident. Name Namegi to the Tikala and set up 7 years. Then given the day you can need to the Nella number 2 in Google la condition the Taji Shabbat to Pinchilla Shabbat on the near to Yene. This year Shabbaton and 10,000 to Shati, Terry Butiongi and Chetangi look sushi, Lam sushi, Tina Lepisha.
So you can use the internet to look at how do people survey or ask people about their questions about dreams, or what previous research has been done on sort of meditation and sleep to help you sort of design a better experiment.
Didn't she again Google a country should be gone and then will any need and you Tajik but Tajik can't session say about didn't she come the Tajiki Namgyal in the correct session said that the tone I need to record of the sound year the Kibai would then Kajata did not touch it. Any Susugi the Yugi Tajiki property part to ya the church.
Okay, so we can tell that you're all getting a little bit sleepy. You're starting to sit way back in your chairs. But we'll try to get through at least one more group before break. So group 6, can you tell us about your experiment?
That Ruga to wins.
Hello. Okay, good morning to our Western professors and translator, and good evening to our colleagues here. So here I'm representing my group 6 Penta group.
Number the congrats some issue again last number some issue at any page commission again congrats some issue at number gengi Ruga Trupa Tomtra Trupa things.
So our research question is that does her recitation technique will affect the wellness of our sleep? Her recitation technique will affect our sleep.
Oh, page game to Taji Jagi Tubadi. Double the Nimita. There, don't you?
Yindun
La
Yindun Chede.
Ale
Dumba danger a Kaiman Duanche.
Ale.
Number not danger.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you did Chenny. You did Chetan, you get on it to the Jordan of the Chabadigi, and you might go on Chabadigi, and you go near like you can take it to Centimeter.
And can you tell us about your experimental design?
Yeah. And hypothesis, okay. Our hypothesis is that her recitation will improve the wellness of our sleep. And it is we choose this because we went through a journal experimented in a University of Turkey, and they experimented on the disturbed sleeps, which affects those effects, and most of the effects are this depression, family problem, and many things. And so we concluded that most of these reasons are because of our distorted and afflicted mind. Because of these things, our sleep is disturbed, and we will get very lack of sleep. So we want to do this research to know that to convert our mind or focus our mind in one thing, to not divert in different things, to put in or focus on one thing. So we'll get a better sleep and we'll get better hygiene. Yeah.
Oh, can I follow the Tanda Taji did to Junti? Taji did the Nezir of Chick, the Shimju Yamachi, the Turkey in Chesham, the Nisho, Tinalola, Mima Buchi, any Yakukuma, but the day again, any Samuel downloads of the Imuka, the Ray, chair, the Degi, Netumaguchu, Shas, the Ramanis Chucha, in that Pedig Netu Tumyota, any game Punada, some Jada of Jigla, some less casual report of Jigla. 69你们不光的，咱们忙不起来怕检验性罗马就前呢，每个月的这个拖了怕每度节，不同的那地部的这个 니기 급자야 땅디 최기 아니 주고 생명을 소버든데 강에 용 땅도 또 시그레스네 삼로 되는 지키비 토네 아니 단다 인도네시아디 믹주제 아니 믹주네 단다 지간 삼로 슈베야기 미유 송제디 개발 주군도 다야데 삼로 코죠.
And we are doing the experimental study, and the participants are our own group. So first, the steps are the first we are collecting survey for 2 days with our normal sleep. Like we are collecting surveys and asking questions like how fast you sleep after going to bed, and how well you sleep. Did you awake in the middle of night, and how well you slept in the morning, and how well you feel. And we do this question first 2 days, asking them each individual, and do the survey and make data about it. And after these 2 days, we are doing like 5 days for like 5 minutes. We will do this one, her recitation technique, and how impact this technique will to it individual. And we will do the survey each morning, like how fast after doing this technique, how fast did you go to sleep, and how well did you sleep, and the same question like the before. So we will do the survey and collect the data, and yeah, this.
그거는 저 다제 나다디 다제디 니마 뒤르가 지임바다 니마 뒤르가 장야체 다제 장서디 코난 저 루가랑 소미체 소미 뒤 유서데 진짜체 제 제단에 가리랬으나 이게 담보데 니마 담보니데라 아니 니단데 여기 이 장도 수뒤제 니라 슈겐도 근데 믹스 때가 많이 봐 균den게 니디 아니 니 코디 용려 가리 고고도 그거가 양려 가지 고고도 아니 디퍼르포르레 아니 세야 가지고 연구도 세기도 민도 세나 세기요나 가지고 세기도 산이데 니 세니야 라인도 아니 그거지 손안도 가는 게 되기도 계속 뒤제 미tun가라 니마 뒤니가 뒤 근데 하면 니마 ngaringa 아니 니마고 공데라 가마 니링가 인도엔 체주 인도엔 체바 뒤주네 니마 ngaringa 도시네 엔창도 뒤야체 아디 니마 체
And in the last, we will compare these two data, the first with normal sleep and the second with the after doing the technique, and we will compare these two data and what the difference and what impact this technique do to it individual, and we will get the result of it.
니마 당보니라 뒤샤베 당도디다 아니 제마 니마 ngaringa 뒤샤베 당도니부텔 이 텐드 둘제 아니 개발하는 두두제 아니 네 인트벤션이야리스.
And for one point, I want to make clear that why we choose this her recitation technique, or we can say mind recitation technique, because not in the example we wrote like Mani Chandra Om Mani Padme Hum, like we will recite through our mind or heart. But in normal, like other people, we can recite alphabets like A, B, C, just focus on these alphabeticals like A, B, C, or just numericals like 1, 2, 3. And this technique is applicable to all. That's why we choose this technique for a better sleep. Thank you.
And the Taji Cheaki Chetandi and the Indian Cheche, Taji Chetandi, Kachin Damba is on the D. Indian Chetandi, Damanda, energy, Namgyal, Dabatanga, and the Sagina, Pichoguri, Timaimba, Chebatugi, any anti Tangata, any Yinduta, the day, Kachinda, the day, Karish Chunjunpa Kapabayo, the Depa Toguisa, Surujini Chechoy, that he. Indian Chebadi Shukin take you know, the Indian Chiluchidan Damida Chayusa and Mambujilapa Park of Chetway, so to Tongu today, getting any Dambayis.
I just have a few comments. One is, I think it's wonderful that you've pulled from the existing literature in so many ways.
And the little congestion way now, Tambude, the Tanda, you're taking exactly Nalola, 직대제 아니 디실을 샤베토네 아니 리퀘스트 레어로 비제자디 시라기 제답 야부시다 키아버시데스.
Second point is partially a question for Nicole. Does 7 days seem feasible, or are we thinking that we'll have that many days for them to actually do a project, given that they'd have to probably start right away? Should we like suggest maybe they do 3 days and 3 days or something like that?
Yeah, I think you can plan on 5 to 6 days of data collection.
Okay, so I might do 3 days and 3 days. That way you have an equal number of days across the non-recitation versus recitation practice.
아다 심주 제약이 뒤도 거기 제가디 니면 뒤에 담아 제약이 베이스 랭당 메트로스 신경 심발라 컨디션도 아니 단다 장도 뒤야 보라 균 dombe 니가 손에 장도 니가 균 domne 장도 뒤야 보라 니만만에 두거로 제네 야고 요리스 디치도 아니 인도 마제 부kap기 장도 뒤야다 인도 제부kap기 장도 뒤야 니가 domne 니만만 텔레마 마게체 아니 게 로빈라기 kontanayachina 디양 뒤주디 찍과 고시 때문에 니만 숨 고시 때문에 나나 야고 메트로스.
And the last point is, per Ken's comment on order effects, you may want to have some people start with the recitation first and then go to normal sleep, and others start with the normal sleep and then go to recitation, because that way you're controlling for the order effects in the study.
근데 samjha niba the order effect cheni bangrim jugdangi ani khebal jugdangi keje yoris isa kange yanela doba denche ore doba indian chebe kabla kange cheta indian maji kabla kange meje ya dinde chebele ruka di khanil ko si jabe ani chiki ani indian chene nikuya da ji indian maji nikuya che 아니 심바디 아니 저마 니마 숨기절 아니 버림기 저울로 제비나 아니 버림기 아니 개발 미 마스베 차야 개발요리스.
Okay, it is time for a break. Make sure you move around. You can all drink some coffee, and we will see you in 30 minutes.
당어도 내 발전 fjagi 아니 야 상제 야 파페 수페도 나제 중처도 그룹 차야 베드나로나 고비시오크네 시하고 고비시에서 동구에는 지 송수다 전에 동구전 전에가도 그거 책에 전에 양조제요.
So Nicole, we have DD